The room is set up this way is because we're modeling the social distancing that we want everybody to be able to experience. So we have done this with our staff meetings and other things over the last few days. And one of the things that we've been emphasizing is the 5 principles of protection. And it starts with, it goes hands, elbows, face, feet, and feel. So hands, wash your hands all the time. We had our students washing their hands before class and after class, just to make sure that they were experiencing appropriate hygiene, and that being reinforced by the instructors. The elbow is for any coughs or sneezes into your arms so that you don't spread those germs. That's good hygiene anyway, regardless of what would be happening, and it's for flu or common cold. Face, not touch your face with hands that you haven't just recently washed or wiped. And so that's something that we're also encouraging students and our staff to be mindful of. People are saying that they've never realized how itchy their face feels now that we have heightened this awareness. The feet, it's the social distancing, which is at 6 feet. And that's supposed to be the safe distance, because if, as they predicted, the virus is spread by droplets, then it's not airborne, and 6 feet is a safe distance even if somebody were contaminated. So that's what we're using. And then feel, if you don't feel well, don't be a soldier and come to work, stay home. So those are the things that we've been telling our students, telling our staff. And we've had good success over the last week or so with doing that. The students have a heightened awareness. People have been talking about whether they need to go to the nurse, or the students need to go to the nurse, and we're having a good conversation with our shared nurse with ACSD. She's been wonderful. We posted some of her documents online. I don't know if you had an opportunity to see some of the documents that we posted, but I sent out a link to board members. Yep, great, thanks. So those are some of the things that we're emphasizing with respect to our procedures and protocols. I did want to go over just a couple of things that we have emphasized. We want to make sure that we're being clear in our messaging. Sorry, Kim, if I have my back to you, I'm trying to navigate the social distancing appropriately. I think you're safe, even though I'm only about 3 feet away. I don't think I can go through the screen yet.
Yeah, I'm in New Haven, I'm good.
Okay. But a couple of things that we wanted to emphasize was we need to identify things that students and members of the community can have confidence in. And that is something that is predictable, something that's reliable, and it's safe and it's healthy. And so that's part of our messaging: predictability, reliability, health and safety. And that we are using reasonable and common sense approaches to our decision making, because we think that that's very important. And that means that our building is not going to be in complete shutdown or lockdown. We are sanitizing. You see that we have these here. We had a meeting in here with about half a dozen people, and we wiped down afterwards. Our maintenance custodial staff are on the ball. They have all of the supplies that we need for the moment, and they are doing a very good job of sanitizing the building.
So Danny, you said the building is going to be open to who? To staff?
Well, to staff. We had some staff who came in today, but that was on their own. And it will be open for operations to receive mail or a variety of other things.
So office staff.
Office staff will be here.
No students are allowed.
There are no students that are expected to come here. Mm-hmm. We don't know if somebody may come in looking for some support, or we don't know what the next 3 weeks are going to hold. There is a potential that somebody may need to come in. A parent may need to come in for support or meeting with our school counselor. We're not precluding that automatically. We're looking at the reasonableness and common sense approach with a focus on predictability, reliability, health and safety. To give you an example about that, I'll give you an update briefly on the search for the assistant director. Our search committee has met. We conducted an interview yesterday, and we conducted it in here with the appropriate social distancing. We think that needs to move forward. We have to follow up on some of these things. We have a candidate from Maine, and the candidate from Maine was originally going to Skype in, but then said, oh, I can come over and meet and set it up with Patrice to come over for later this week. And then Patrice caught the last phrase where the person said, well, let's run into quarantine. And Patrice texted that to me. He said, what does that mean? And he said, it means I need to call her. So I called the candidate, and I asked what was going on, and I did a little searching on Maine. I'm not going to identify anything, but I just had some concerns. I also had concerns about the out-of-state travel. And so I said, I don't think that it's good for you to come over here, either for you or for us, or, under these circumstances. So let's continue with the remote interview. And so we set that up instead. So we're exercising good judgment. I had another request for folks from out of state to come in and do some contracting work on the EEI project. And I wanted to say, let's hang on to that. I don't know where they're from or how this is going to play out, so let's postpone. So I'm trying to be judicious, and I'm trying to empower our staff to be judicious in making those decisions, or to at least conference before we start saying yes or no. And we're looking at a very thorough vetting process before we give answers, which I think is appropriate. But that's just me.
You have thermometers on hand?
I'm sorry?
I said, do you have thermometers on hand?
We're actually, that was one of the things that the Communication and Logistics Committee were actually talking about today. So I can't answer the question right now, but that's what they're going to be looking at tomorrow and Thursday and Friday. So with respect to that, tomorrow is the day that we had originally said no one would be here, so that's not changing. We will have office staff again for a short period of time itself, more than likely. But we did a work day today with admin and staff in these 6 key areas. And let me see if I can do this easily. I'll pull it up on my laptop and I'll talk from there, because it's going to be difficult sharing my screen with Kim on, so I don't want to cut you off, Kim. So I'm going to do it this way by just talking about what we've been doing. We've identified 6 groups that we have, my computer's a little slow. We have a communications committee, we have a logistics committee, we have a student support committee, we have an instructional committee, and I have 2 others. We have a PD and IT training committee, and we have the adult ed and co-op committee. And that's important because I want to let you know, when you asked who the building is open to, we are allowing some of our adult ed courses to continue because of the nature of the work that they're doing and its vital performance and the ability to either reschedule or not. So we have 3 classes that are semi-continuing. One is our LNA class, and Len told me just today that they're suspending their class until after Porter allows clinical rotations to continue, because so much of that is clinically related. So we're going to continue the class, but we're not going to run it now because there's no point in holding a academic session if they don't have access to the clinical. They'll have to redo that. So anyway, that is on suspension. We have a welding class that we're going to continue. Low risk, small numbers. Check with John and Len, and everybody is good with that. The phlebotomy class is going to be somewhat of a hybrid. It's going to continue. They're going to combine video conferencing, but then their testing will happen here, and we're not sure when that will happen, but there's a timeline that it has to follow, And we're being very sensitive to the healthcare community and the need to have people trained. So that's what we're doing with that. Any classes that have not started yet are being postponed until we know more. Our co-op, we're planning at this point to continue with co-op because that's students placed in the community. They are not here in the school. And Len will continue to connect with them and the employers approximately once a week. And then we are being careful about who comes into the building. So if he had to have a meeting with an employer, he'd probably likely have that at North Campus, but we're not saying that those meetings can't happen. If a student needs to check in, same thing. Could check in with him at North Campus, but maybe on the phone, maybe via video conference. But we're trying to make sure that we are accessible in ways that people need, but not, what's the word? Not cavalier or irresponsible in those contexts. What else?
So how are the programs moving forward?
I'll update you on that. We were just working on that. They're going to all be connected to our groups. And let me see if I can pull up. This is it. We have 2 work days planned in the next 3 days. That's Thursday and Friday. And we're doing a survey of what type of technology people have access to at home. We're trying to get that done before. On Thursday, we're bringing our staff in. They'll be working on their distance learning opportunities for students, whether they're physical packages or whether packets, or whether they happen to be on an online platform, or via emailing of documents back and forth. We are going to be doing an update every morning, every time we meet. So it'll be Thursday and Friday, and we'll set up a schedule where we'll meet periodically over the course of the next couple of weeks, just so that we can come together and strategize in person. You lose something when you're not actually in the room. Kim, you probably are participating in a fairly good way from there, but I acknowledge that this weekend when we were up in South Burlington and people were remoting in, you don't have the same opportunity to collaborate on a small work group that you can when you're doing it in person. So anyway, where am I? So we are going to be hearing from each of our committees, and all the staff will have an opportunity to join a committee so that they remain connected. And we're going to be going through how we are communicating after we break on Friday. Right now, we're tentatively looking to come in once a week. We're looking for that to be strategic. The date of April 6th may move, but we're hoping to have a meeting sometime just before that so that we can be prepared to transition back and address any types of questions that students and families might have. So we are doing our best to keep people informed. And so it will be a work day. We're bringing somebody in that has some experience with online or distance learning. And each teacher has an opportunity to sign up for, say, a 20-minute segment to reorient themselves to what's going on. And we're starting that information gathering today. We are talking about making sure that people, when they're working remotely, are checking their email regularly. The expectation is they're reaching out with students as frequently as they would be in class, so that we have those contacts. Our logistics, student support, and communication teams are poised to reach out to families, hear what they're experiencing, and to be able to respond or get their questions answered by the appropriate team.
So I'm sure that you're working with the 3 districts, so what happens if, say, a student doesn't have technology at home, or like what happened on a Zoom how-to meeting this morning, the person that was leading it was sitting out somewhere in Addison, and the audio kept cutting out and freezing. So what are we Or how are we helping students with that piece?
So right now, and I'll be better poised to answer that question at a future meeting. But what we're doing right now is we're looking at multiple modalities. Our logistics team and transportation team, we're working closely today to propose how we could get information packets and study packets to students who could not participate via a digital medium or a digital platform. And we know we have some of those. We were in the process of surveying all of our students and families. We did send out a Google survey, and we're waiting to get responses back. We were cut short a little bit because we were expecting to have the second half of them done today.
So is that Google survey via mail or?
No, it's via email for anybody that we have an email address for. For those that aren't, we have the communications team calling to find out what their needs will be. It's not that, there's not a one-to-one correlation between whether they have an email address and whether they have the ability to receive digital communications at home. So,
I know
that's what we're
they
working
said in our district last night, I don't know how they pulled this off, but they got a Chromebook for every student from K3, or third grade to K through to 12.
to 12, yeah.
So, wow. Yeah, I don't know how they did it, but they did it.
Well, they may have surveyed to find out who had a device already that they could use.
Yeah,
So-
but a lot of students didn't have Chromebook. We have never had a one-to-one in our district.
Oh, well.
That's huge.
Yeah, it was huge. So you know, at least all the Virgins.
Right, and we were preparing ourselves to be able to help students who might have technology, but what we heard was that that could be covered at the secondary level for students in our 370.
So now having Chromebooks, not only have to have the internet access.
Well, that's the other thing. That was the next step, trying to survey or get inexpensive internet hooked
Right.
up for these people. Yeah.
So we had, our team has been strategizing over the last couple of days about how to address the multitude of procedures, but we know that not everything that we've foreseen will actually play out that way. And so we're prepared to make adjustments as needed.
Dana, are you using the website to disseminate all this information?
We're using email communication, and the website has an alerts section under the on the tab that says About. And so there's an alert section there, and all of the information is in there.
Great.
That's the link that I think I sent to you, but because I sent you the link, you can go there directly.
Right.
But if you go to the website and About Us, the top item on that webpage is the alerts, and that's providing all of the information that we communicate. It is not necessary, it doesn't yet have all of the emails that I've sent out. I mean, like Peter Burrows has posted some on the ECSD website. It's not archiving all of that, but any of the major communications that we're sending out, we're posting there. Kelly's leading our communications team, and two other members who are critical are Patrice and Denise in the two offices. So we still have a lot to work out, but that's the preliminary work that established and set up for communications. We know it's not going to be perfect, and we have a way of processing questions that will come in. They'll be referred to the appropriate team, and we'll be able to respond as a center.
So, and I don't know if anybody on the staff can do this, but as those questions come in and you know the answers, if you can start just like a running list. So somebody could go to that alert and scroll down through the questions and maybe just find their answers so they don't have to like call in or email in. That might be a helpful way to reduce some of the phone calls that you're taking.
And we're trying to do that as we capture. We've got so many docs established for various parts of communication that's a good point. Thank you, Suzanne. What else? And then we'll be doing, so our day is broken up into some work groups, information sharing, and then preparation for disseminating information to our students and getting that all rolled up. And we'll do something similar on Friday.
So how can the board help, and where do you need the help?
I think one of the biggest things is in the messaging, and if we can get all of the board members, so there are 4 of you tonight. We're looking at a buddy system too, for preparing up and communicating. If each of you could pick a fellow board member and help share what we're working on, and then serve as liaisons so that we can, as we get information to you, you can make sure that the board is up to speed and aware. I think that that's going to be critical as we move forward in this process. And we know that we may not have reached a peak yet,
Yeah.
so there are going to be other things that we have to make decisions about, and it may be worth our while to get together on some basis, depending on what gets rolled out. In terms of next steps, or if we're going into a prolonged situation, and just so that you're aware of what we're experiencing for challenges. At the moment, we think we have a good handle on what we need to do, but we aren't there yet, and we haven't moved to implementation. So we're just on the planning phases, and once we go into implementation, we'll see where the breakdowns are. But we have a number of board members who are employers in the community, and we want them to know that we're very supportive and that we're sending out a message. I think that's the biggest thing. If I could repeat what I said at the opening, we're trying to operate in a way that is predictable, reliable, safe, and healthy, and that we are trying to make our decisions based on reasonableness and common sense. And if that can be shared if each of you take one other person too, then everybody would know. And maybe have a conversation about what the board needs. Because if you get back to me what the board is looking for, then we can actually do an FAQ there. It would help contribute to that document. At this point in time, we don't think we need help with the logistics. We might need help with the messaging, but if you take those messages and then just make sure that your constituents, boards that you're part of, know what we're doing and that we are reaching out. We've set up a communication link just today with each one of our, as somebody mentioned, maybe it was you, Lorraine, with our partner schools, so that we have good communication flowing in that direction. And I'm on a chain with the superintendent, so I'm hoping that with my unique role of being connected with the building level leadership as well as the district level leadership, we can be well informed about what's transpiring and coming up.
The other part of me just worries about the students. I mean, we've had students over the weekend that, are like, am I gonna die? Is the world coming to an end? So, there's all of those fears, and so there needs to be a collective thought about how to help them through this, because, they don't know what this is and they don't understand it, and the constant barrage is really tearing down some of their...
So that's a good point. One of the things that we're working on, once again, we have our school counselor who is serving on 2 of our subcommittees. One is the communications for outreach, to make sure that she is aware of what families or students' needs are. And the other is the student support, where we have a team of 3 folks, and in addition to the school counselor, who are working on those, so that they can be in touch with those students, because sometimes it may be a question of processing information, and they can be available by phone or by video chat to be able to reach out to those students and help them know that there's somebody real that's connected with them. And we want to make sure that that is something that we pay attention to, the human aspect during this time, because that's really critical. And to your point, Suzanne, that's why things for young people, or even older people, but for young people in particular, they need to know that something is predictable and reliable. Just like you're going to be there to help them in the classroom or in their, sports endeavors or their co-curricular activities, and in their, business measures. And so, we have things that have to still go on. We have a farm out at North Campus, and students have been asking whether they can help in doing that. We don't see any reason to say no. They're not being brought into a building. They can take care of the chickens. They can take care of.
And do you have to run that by the AOE and the governor?
Well, so the question is, I've already done that. I've reached out. I'm waiting to hear back. But the same thing is true of co-ops. We're looking at co-ops. We're looking at that as a co-op. It's just not with a private enterprise in town. It's with our enterprise here. So we're looking at, it's tricky, but we're looking at that. But that's why I'm applying the reasonableness and common sense factor. If we need chickens to be cared for, and we don't want them to die, then we have to do something. And we can't rely on just one or two people to do that. And if students want to make a contribution, and the parents say that that's fine, right now that's what we're exploring. We haven't done that.
Yeah.
And so I have to be careful about what goes out to the.
Yeah, I mean, would you
to the
have to
general
get parents to sign a waiver if you're giving students permission to be in school?
So the question is a good one.
Yeah.
But it's like you're going on a field trip during vacation.
Yeah, I get it, but we're not supposed to be operating a school right now, so,
And we aren't.
okay.
So, I mean, that's the perspective that I take.
Yeah,
But we're not operating a school if someone's going on co-op. They're out
Yeah.
in the community.
okay.
If somebody is volunteering to take care of a community, what's the word I'm looking for? Asset? We don't have a reason to say no.
Okay.
So those are things that we're
And I also
confronting.
think where it comes to agriculture, I mean, we would be in trouble with the other powers to be if we didn't take care of the chickens and whatever animals.
Yeah, I just want to
are.
make sure you've got the appropriate waivers or whatever, like if you're going to
Yeah.
let students be participating in school programs on some level, you know, could you have the staff
Work-
take care of the animals instead?
Potentially.
Yeah.
Good, but the question came up, and so I said I'm exploring that, but it's one of those things where, for me, it's a question of empowering young people to be able to make a difference.
Yeah.
And one of the things we talked about is we can't be sure when students are out in the community that they are exercising the hands, elbow, face, feet, feel.
Yep.
And particularly the feet, 6 feet difference. My experience with adolescents, they congregate in groups, and they're very close groups. And if they are out by themselves, there's no one there to model their, the appropriate types of behavior. So we may be running a greater risk by having young people on hiatus for an extended period of time, if they're going out, unless they're being kept to their own homes. But that's just something that we think about, I think about from a social perspective. So we don't know, but we may end up having a different type of concern.
You're talking about the co-ops, and I'm not familiar enough about where kids are placed, but are any of our children placed in places where they are with large groups of people that perhaps we're not doing, you know, that they shouldn't be?
No, we asked that question. Most of them were placed in small enterprises or businesses where you have a very small number of employees. If it is a larger one, then they happen to be in a section or a small area. The one that I can think, the biggest employer that we place with is Porter, as a result of our medical professions folks. But they're in a smaller unit, and that's been suspended, by the way.
Yeah, I
So
mean, they're,
Well,
taking their own.
things like restaurants, like somebody
But
might,
they canceled, so they won't be, right, if a restaurant isn't doing business, then we won't have a co-op there.
but are they all closed? They're not?
The restaurants
Yeah.
have been closed
As of
for
2 o'clock
2 o'clock
today.
this afternoon.
Oh, okay.
there's
So
all
they're only doing
restaurants.
takeout.
Yep.
So for us to have somebody place.
Just takeout. So,
In the state.
So I mean, I guess it could be that they would be in a restaurant, but I don't think so. I don't think we have any good place currently. And we're not looking to expand our co-op experience right now during this time. We have those co-ops that were either underway or imminently being considered. And so there are some businesses that are looking for students to be able to take on those co-ops.
Yeah.
Particularly, it's the tire changing season. And our students are very highly sought after. And we have many co-ops that get placed between now and April 15th. And so the question is, can we facilitate that? And that's what we're looking into.
Yeah.
But we haven't been told no.
Yeah.
And so I'm using, I think, like I said earlier, using good judgment, trying to, and being clear with respect to what's reasonable and common sense, emphasizing predictability, reliability, safe, health and safety.
I think if you could write that up in a paragraph and send it to everybody, that would be helpful, if you don't.
What we're focusing on,
Yeah, yeah.
not the experiences, but what we're focusing on.
Yeah, just that, what you just
What I just said, yeah, I'd be happy to.
said,
That's very similar to what we disseminated
yeah.
when Irene washed out most of Route 4 to, from Rutland to Woodstock. 9 years ago.
And then, I know in our district, they've sent, to your point, they've sent a bunch of links to articles for parents to read and for students to read about it. If you guys.
We haven't differentiated at that level. We have posted a number of resources for CDC and the Vermont Department of Health.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Kim, you have any questions?
A couple. I think, I've noticed on Facebook, for instance, that Regents has addressed the food necessity items for children who really may be only getting one good meal a day.
right.
And they've instituted, a bag lunch, drop off, pick up, that type of thing.
Right.
I don't know if, Danny, you've had conversations with the other superintendents about what their plans are and if that's something we can be included in. I'm not sure how much we can offer them at this point because the students aren't in the building to work with Chef Wood.
Right. And I am aware of what they're doing, at least the outline of what they're doing. Being part of the superintendent's chain, we get regular updates about what each district is doing, and there's a lot of sharing of resources around the state. And I think that that's very helpful and valuable. And we're beginning as a cohort of career and technical centers to address those same issues one level down.
Yeah.
But at our superintendent's meeting, there was only one other superintendent who mentioned that we needed to think about the special circumstances surrounding career and technical ed. So that is not has not been the highest priority in terms of the decision making, because career and technical ed doesn't necessarily follow the same learning experiences that the.
So Dan, the other question I have is, I think it's essential for us to highlight to the students through various social media, other than just Facebook. They use Twitter, they use Instagram. Yep. It's just another opportunity for you to share, your 4 points that you put out there, and give them some security in knowing that, people do care about them, even if they are at home, and, how strongly we feel about the school, and that they're a big, very large part of it, no matter where they are at this point. And I feel the same way about our staff. I think they need to hear that maybe from us, Suzanne, I don't know. It's just everybody's doing a whole different thing right now, and it's scary and it's new, and that basically everybody's in the same boat. And it's okay to have anxiety about that, and here's some directions you can go regarding that. And having the school counselor, or whoever you want to use to augment those anxiety questions, I think that's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing out in the public. It's not just the kids, it's the parents.
Right.
They're not used to having their kids home all the time and having to monitor what they're doing every day and so on. And that those questions are going to come up, and that we're willing to support them on that.
And that's a great point, and I think you're right on, Kim, by making sure that that's a message that we send out here from the Career Center, but the board emphasizes in terms of caring for the young person. So we do have a Twitter and an Instagram account, so we'll make sure that we put it on those media as well. Thanks for that suggestion.
Thank you.
And to let you know, ACSD just came out with a quite lengthy email on food service update. Mm-hmm. They are using the bus routes. They are doing curbside drop-offs. They mention in here also that there's an option to receive grocery staples items weekly while supplies last. That's another sign up. So, the email was on and on and on and on. So, that just came out.
Suzanne, I would encourage maybe you to send out a directive that people on the board, especially people who don't have children in school or running a business, need to make sure that they're reading those memos so that they're informed about what each district's doing. You and I, we talk about it all the time, and, Christina, and we wear multiple hats, but I think some of the business members may not be, and it might be a good opportunity for them to be caught up on what's actually going on when they are questioned by the public. That's going to happen.
Yep, I can work on that, and I will run it by you and Dana before I blast it out there.
Yeah, I just find it really, really helpful, especially about when things are canceled and why and all that anxiety that comes along with that.
Yep.
Maudie just canceled their big, they're going to do the Addams Family, and they just said cancel. And there's a lot of anxiety with that. They've worked very, very hard with it, and those types of things.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the only reason why they're going to school. That and sports, and
Right.
those things are over right now.
And unfortunately, when they pull in those scripts, it's not something that you can just say, oh, well, we'll delay it 3 weeks, because
Right.
then you have to pay those fees for the next
Right.
3 weeks, so it's hard.
Yeah.
Well, again, that's an educational process that we can help with, out in the public when you hear that, like, why can't you, reschedule, or why can't you this, and then all the other factors go along with it.
So that's part of that. That's a point that we will be looking at on Friday, where we get all of the staff together before we dismiss,
Yeah.
to go over all of those questions and who is going to take on those communication roles. We'll have a spreadsheet of tasks that people will be working on. And if it's okay with you, I can present when we reconvene that there are board members who are interested. If we send an invitation, maybe you can put yourself in the appropriate category for helping with that as needed. I'm very pleased to see that even though we don't have a quorum, that we have representation from each one of our partner districts, and that's really important for this meeting this evening. So thank you all for being here, even though this isn't really an official meeting.
And if you want, Dana, whenever you do your meeting on Friday, if you'd like me to be present,
Sure.
just let me know. And
Great. Well, what did I invite you to the other day?
last
What?
Friday, yes.
It was just an update, right?
Yeah.
We were doing an update because we had gotten the most recent information, and we were doing some strategizing. So it's good to make sure that we're in good communication and people understand, where we're at. And I want to reduce fear and anxiety. I don't want to contribute to it. And know that I will ask whatever reasonable question needs to be asked, and I will follow the directives from certainly the government, but also from AOE and the Department of Health,
Yeah.
in terms of what we're doing to try to navigate our way through this process.
So with regard to meals, Addison Northwest and Mount A District, we have a cooperative, and as of last night at our board meeting, they're going to do 2 meals a day, but one drop time.
With 2 meals at a
With
time.
2 meals in it, and it's going to be drop-off sites, and bus drivers are going to take it, they're working out the logistics of that. And it's for any kid in the district or county, maybe ages 0 to 18. So it's not just restricted to school students
Right, that are
in
already
school,
identified.
because it falls under a different funding mechanism.
They're using the
summer
they're using the
school
summer
program.
schools,
Yeah.
some seamless summer option for
Yeah.
schools, which
So,
I think is a
Ours
great
isn't
idea.
restricted either. I don't know if ours goes to 0, but Ed mentioned it wasn't.
Yeah, it says
If
meals are
any kid
free
wanted
to all
to get it.
children ages 18 and under. No application or prior approval is
Yeah,
needed.
so they must be doing
And-
the same thing.
And they've gotten permission from, on those changes as
Yeah.
well, they've gotten
Yeah.
permission from the Department of Ed in
Yeah.
Washington to relax those rules
Yeah.
as part of this, this event. So, anyway,
So that's good.
anything else for me? Questions or suggestions? Well,
No, I think it's just really imperative that, everyone all pull together and help, whether it be helping, bus drivers, running food to doorways
Yeah.
or whatever, but we're all in this together. None of us have, there's so many people out there that have never done online learning and or teaching, that if anybody has expertise in those areas and they can step up and help, that's so helpful and so imperative. I mean, I learned this weekend that Baldwin College is going to all online, and they don't teach anything online. Everything is in the classroom, so they are, I mean,
Yeah.
there's an opportunity for someone else too, but it's a scary world we're in right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know the plan in our district is they're gonna do a maintenance plan for the first, till April 6th.
Yeah.
And then after April 6th, then it'll go to a teaching model. So they'll have time to get everything into place, so, yeah. Anyway.
But if there's anything you need, just reach out, you know.
And to your point, the team that we've pulled together to break into subcommittees has been phenomenal. They've been very supportive. People saying, what do we need to do?
Yeah.
So if we're looking at, wiping down and, so what can we do? If we're nearing the end of our time together, I'll have everybody, if they don't mind, take a wipe and just wipe off the table where you are. You're sitting at. And then
Thank you, sir.
you're quite welcome. And that's just part of our process. So we're asking the kids to do their part when they're in school, and I'm asking everyone to do.
I touched this.
That's okay. I will